Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Dev Pragya Parma, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Dev, where are you from? Which part of India or which part of
Sir,
Delhi?
I am from Shimla.
Okay, typical Himachal. Okay.
Yes, Pahari girl.
Pahadi, yes, yes. Lovely place. I've been there many years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
You are
I
most
remember
welcome, sir. It is
when
still like
I
very
remember
nice. The weather is good. It's
uh,
raining.
my nephew was working in Chandigarh. I took a bus. He dropped me at a place. I forgot the ridge or something. I have to walk a little bit up the hill,
Yes,
but
sir.
it's
The ridge. Yes, yes, yes.
yes, it was very pretty, very scenic place. So I remember that.
Sir, we are live now. You can.
Okay, Firoz. Yes, thank you. All right. A good evening to all of you. This is the third class for uh, MPSE 001. MPSE 001, the course is called European Union in World Affairs. Today is the third class. The first class we had on 29th of March. The second class we had on 5th of April, which was last Saturday. And today is the third class. Before I begin, I think today's class, okay, today I think we'll take care of Unit 7, 8, 9. I've already circulated that in your WhatsApp messages in Mamiti. I think Sanjeev requested me just to give a very brief update about myself. I think it will be very long, but I would like to make it short and sweet. Basically, I'm from the state of Odisha, where I did my high school education, my college education, particularly my undergraduate and my postgraduate in Odisha, in the capital in Bhubaneswar and also Cuttack. Thereafter, I worked for a couple of years in a place called Puri in Odisha. Thereafter, I came to JNU to pursue my MPhil degree, Master of Philosophy. So I stayed here in JNU for about 3 years, from 80 to 83. It's a long time ago, long before anyone of you had been born. So there I did my MPhil. I completed my MPhil in 83. Then I I registered myself for PhD program. At the same time, I was also looking for an opportunity to go to United States of America because my MPhil was in American Studies at School of International Studies at JNU. Luckily I got admission in a couple of places, including Cornell University, University of Chicago, University of Los Angeles in California, George Washington University. So among all those 4 or 5 places I got selected. I chose Cornell University, which is a Ivy League university. I spent there for about 6 years, 83 to 89. In between, I earned again 2 masters and also a PhD. Thereafter, I taught for 2 years in New York, 89 to 91. Please remember that when a lot of people say New York, they immediately jump to the conclusion that this is New York City. New York, the state is called New York. It's also known as the Empire State. And the city is called New York City. So my campus, Cornell, was about 220 miles away from New York City. But Cornell also has a campus, a satellite campus in New York City. So New York City is different than the entire New York state. So please remember that. It's a very big state. It's a huge state, almost like as big as, like, you can say, like Maharashtra or maybe Tamil Nadu, or maybe even bigger than that. Anyway, then 91, I went relocated to another place, another state in the US. 90, that was Kentucky. I spent 6 years teaching there in Lexington, Kentucky. Kentucky, as you know, is very well known for Kentucky Wildcat, the basketball team, Kentucky Derby, the horse race, Kentucky, the tobaccos. And it's like a sandwich between West Virginia, Tennessee, and on this side, you have Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. Those of you who are very familiar with the topography of United States. So I was there 91 to 97. Then at the end of 97, early 98, I got a good opportunity to go to Japan. I was a visiting professor. I was a full professor, in fact, in teaching international relations area studies in Japan. I spent 8 years in Japan. Then in 2005, I got another opportunity to come to India. I wanted to come back partly for professional reasons, but mostly for personal reasons, because of the education of my children, particularly in English language. So I came to Jamia Millia in Delhi. I spent 14 years. I joined as a professor. Then I rose in the rank in the hierarchy, became head of the department. I became the director of research. So after that, I think I got opportunities to teach in a couple of places outside India and also within India. But I had some health issues, so I decided to stay in Delhi. So whatever opportunities do come within Delhi and NCR, I try to do that. And I'm thankful to Dr. Sahu and many people in Delhi University, Indrapatha, Sarda, Bennett, MIT, Jamia, and many places. So I think the time has come for me that I learned a great deal in the last 30, 40 years from my teachers, from my peers. Now I think it's time for me to give back something, because knowledge is something which is like a building block. I think it is best served when you disseminate this particular information. So I enjoy doing it. I've written a lot of books, a lot of articles. I'm very involved with a lot of academic activities and professional activities. So I think that is in my short, uh, my self-introduction. So I've been part of this IGNU in School of Social Science and School of Transcultural Studies for many, many years, maybe 15 to 20 years in different capacities. So it's always a pleasure to be associated and affiliated with the academic community, academic fraternity, because you learn a great deal from one another. So that's why when some of you ask me some good questions or make some nice pertinent comments, I think that really enriches me also, because even at my age, I also learn a great deal from you as you learn from me. Okay. So anyway, let us quickly go into what we have done in very few minutes before we jump into today's lecture. The history and Unit 1 was History and Evolution of Europe. Unit 2 was Theories of Integration, and Unit 3 was Institutions of EU. And Unit 1, we talked care about what is European Union, how it came in 93, the population about 45 crores by Indian standard by last year, 2024. There are 27 countries under EU, European Union. UK was originally a member in 1973, but it quit after the Brexit vote in 2020. So UK, United Kingdom, is no longer a part of European Union. The currency, as I have said many times, it's the same currency, euro. So whichever part of European Union you try to travel, you can use euro as a single currency, whether it is Spain or Denmark, Sweden, Netherlands, Austria, France, Germany, whatever. They also have the same visa, Schengen visa. So no matter which countries you apply to the embassy to get a visa, once you get a Schengen visa, you can travel to any of those countries within European Union. European Union did a lot of constructive activities over the period. I think in the year 2012, 2012, it was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Just like any other societies, it was mostly a bicultural kind of thing, French and German influence. But lately, I think in the last 20, 30, 40 years, due to the inflow of immigrants and also the refugees, etc., who have decided to settle down, it is now very much a multicultural. So you can say it's a very culturally diverse country. It is a very multicultural country, multi-ethnic countries. You go to, for example, you can see in the soccer team, football team of France, there are a lot of people, a lot of people who have a misconception that everybody must be looking white, this and this. Look at South Africa, look at Australia, and many countries in the world, New Zealand. When you see a title, Patel, what this guy is doing there? The thing is, they have been there for the last 3, 4 generations, and they have been doing splendid job in many places. So the same story in EU. You go to any universities, I've been to many countries within European Union, and people are holding very important position in academia, in different universities, in different companies, industries, IT, in many places. Role of major European Union, just like an entity, they have got very meaningful relations with major countries in the world, United States of America, China, Russia, Canada, India, Saudi Arabia, Japan, you just name it. So they have got very vibrant relationship with all different parts of the world, including East Asia, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, Latin America, and all the countries. In terms of hard power, yes, I think as I've said, some of these countries, particularly countries like France, they produce a lot of defense equipment. India, for example, we have got a diversified defense diplomacy with many countries, including France. and we purchased a lot of jets called Rafale from France. And many countries in the world, they do that. Soft power, yes, I think some of those European countries, they have got their own cultural distinctiveness, uniqueness. You go to Germany, you go to France, you go to Netherlands, they've got rich literature, museum, public diplomacy, and many other things. I think the food things that they use, freedom of movement. Lately, I think maybe toward the end of this session, in the last class, we can have a more open-ended session. I mean, what is going on in Ukraine, how that is affecting European Union as a whole, and also how Ukraine issue is stepping up to affect individual countries. How European Union, for example, is affecting Germany or France or Austria or Netherlands or Sweden or Denmark. Okay, so maybe you can discuss that. We can keep aside a few minutes on that one. So I think that's about one. And the chapter 2 was federalism, different theories of integration. You know, in the textbook, we have got federalism, the federal pattern. Like, for example, you look at India, you look at Canada, you look at Australia. These are different forms of federation. Basically, there is a strong center and there are strong units. Like Article 1 of the Indian Constitution, it states, India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. So it goes like in a tango, both the center and the state, the federal government and the state government, they work in unison. Consociationalism, basically taking everybody along, like taking all the units along, okay, trying to be more accommodative kind of regime or accommodative kind of governance. Realism theories, they also followed the views of power, national interest, survival, self-help, those kind of, even though we know that this is an anarchic society, as the realists always think. People like John Morgenthau, scholars, Kenneth Waltz, Alexander George, etc. Confederalism, different units, they have got significant amount of autonomy, but loosely they try to make it like a confederation. I mean, in a way, you can say Commonwealth nations is a kind of an example of confederation governments. In Unit 3, we discussed about different institutions of EU, European Council, Council of Ministers, European Commission, European Court, and how the different units, different countries, they are represented, and also the members, etc., etc. And the Council of Ministers, they have got all type of departments, just like the way we see in our country, India, or any other countries. For example, external affairs, economic affairs, justice, home affairs, employment, social policy, health, consumer affairs, education, youth, culture. So that's that. Unit 4, we discussed about decision-making process. I think for the sake of this class, please remember, decision-making takes place in different ways. It's like a top-down or it can be bottom-up. Okay? Consultation procedure, they do that. In European Parliament, in Council of Europe, in European Commission, etc. So that is the process of consultation, discussing one with another in a more deliberative way, deliberative diplomacy. Second is assent procedure. Once a particular thing is discussed by different persons within the parliament, it has to go through whether you approve it or you don't approve it. So either you accept it or you reject it or there is no amendment. And that is the part of the Article 192. Cooperation procedures, it is gone through different readings, and then the different stakeholders, they decide to cooperate on the areas in which they agree or they converge. Co-decision between European Parliament and European Councils, again, both of them, they try to discuss and they try to come up with an agreed formula under co-decision. Also, I think you must have come across some terms like double majority, meaning majority not only of the member state, but also population of the union. It's not that one particular country, whether it is big or small in terms of area, they can have a complete sway over the other countries. So the point is, it has to be in a cumulative way, majority of the countries and also majority of the population. That is what double majority talks about. Unanimity, there are certain issues which needs unanimity. So all countries, all the member states, all 27 of them, they need to agree on something. For example, issues anything to do with culture, anything to do with social security. Like, you go to America, you go to Canada, for example, you get some social security benefits. Okay. Canada, for example, they have a very welfare state. Okay. So all those things are very problematic and very contested notions. And there they discuss about all the states under the European Union, they discuss about social security. Migrant workers, what kind of benefits they get, what are their rights particularly. So this is something also that comes under unanimity. The diplomas that you earn, the degrees that you get in different countries, there has to be some equivalence. So let us say somebody got something from Czech or Slovakia or Lithuania, okay, some of these new countries, okay, is it on par with the degrees of France or Germany or other countries? Okay, these are the things I think that has to be decided under unanimity principles. Okay, and then under Unit 5, single European and single market, and there we discussed about different challenges to single market because it's a diverse field of services. Implementation of existing rules are very complicated. Compliance with procurement, levels of parliament, but I think there are also some tangible benefits of a single market that EU tries to achieve or tries to envisage. Free movement within these EU countries, okay, people, goods, services. Number 2, removal of barriers. There is no trade barriers. Okay, so just you can take a car. I think I may have told you when I was in Germany many times. Okay, I have seen a lot of tourists coming, particularly the people living in the border between Germany and France, Germany and Switzerland. They used to drive 50, 60, 70 miles and they used to buy stuff, groceries to the supermarket, etc. So removal of barriers, so that makes it much, much easier. Bringing down prices also because there is a rationalization among all the prices. The airfare also become less because previously some of the countries, if you like to travel, the airfare used to be very high. After the EU, I think some of the single market philosophy that has been much easy. The mobility in movement, enhanced competition with other non-EU markets. I think that has also been a big trump card for EU because you can do more competition. And once you go through this competitive process or mechanism, that makes things much more better. And for a consumer point of view, I think that's much more appealing. So that is number 5. I think under Unit 6, we talk about different treaties like Maastricht Treaty, which is the most important one, November 1993, the Amsterdam Treaty, etc. Creation of the new post for EU Foreign Minister, the rotational basis of a president of EU every 2.5 years, Charter on Fundamental Rights under Part 2 was created, power of European Parliament was increased, more co-decisions was given. As I said, the double majority was introduced, and the member states can use veto in areas of foreign policy, defense, and tax. I think this is very, very important because there are certain touchy things, sensitive things. It's like a no-no kind of thing, particularly if it affects the foreign policy or the core national interest of any particular countries. In the issues of foreign policy, defense, and tax, I think countries can use veto. Veto means no. So even if 26 countries goes in a particular way, for example, and one particular country says, no, I don't like to go that particular way, I think the things cannot move forward because of the veto systems. Just like the way you see in the United Nations Security Council, the 5 permanent members. And that's what India has been trying to be and to, because we feel we have got earned enough accolades in order to go to the UNSC. But anyway, that is a separate issue. New areas of cooperation in asylum and immigration, that is also very much created. Okay. Today, for example, Unit 7, mostly I think it talks about economic and monetary union. So basically, the whole idea is European Union. Of course, it is a very huge net of political, economic, social, cultural, big matrix. Okay, but within that, I think the main crux of EU is economic and monetary union. First of all, I think EU tries to have an amalgamation of separate economies within a larger group. Amalgamation means combine, okay? Because different countries, for example, Austria, they have got a particular set of economic policies. France, they have got one. Spain, they had got one. Portugal, they had got one. So to EU, there has been an amalgamation of the different kind of economics, their logics. Some countries, they follow exclusive, for example, the socialist policies. Some country try to be like a pseudo or quasi-Marxist. Some country go for more like a capitalist kind of thing. So like to combine, okay, to amalgamate the different economic philosophies, and also remove the trade barriers between two and more nations, and to establish certain elements of economic cooperation. Okay, there are different stages of deepening regional integration within the EU countries, and it was done through various mechanisms. One of them is free trade agreement, FTA. Remember, India has FTA with many countries in the world. We have got also called SEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreements. Okay. For example, India is currently negotiating with Donald Trump, to have a FTA, so that maybe the pressure of tariff can be a little bit less. Okay. So which is creating a huge uncertainty and huge panic among many countries in the world. Customs union. So basically, trade liberalization plus the common commercial policy. Okay, common market, which is combination of trade liberalization, common commercial policy plus free movement, and then economic union, trade liberalization plus common commercial policy plus free movement and common monetary policies. And the ultimate goal as a vision is to have a political union, which is not as taking place, but that's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate aim of the EU. Okay. But please remember, all of these things got a boost or got a enhancer in the post-Cold War after 1990s, because that's also the time that, like you can say, like a dividing point between the old socialist kind of path, okay, and the new one, which is the process of globalization, economic liberalization, and privatization. Okay. Remember, if you go back to 1990s, when this whole debate on globalization were going on, Stiglitz, Amartya Sen, a lot of those scholars they're talking about, there is a lot of skepticism about it. That is it feasible? Is it a good idea? Can it have a long legs? Okay. So there is a lot of oppositions. When P.V. Narasimha Rao, Manmohan Singh used to suffer all those things. Okay, the people they got a lot of flack from the right, from the left, from the center, but they stood their ground because they felt that's good for India at that particular point of time. And since then, as you can see, today, after 30, 35 years, nobody's arguing about the utility or validity of globalization. The only thing that is being contested is how fast is fast enough. Okay, so it is not a question of reversible policy, rather it is a question of irreversible policy, that it cannot be changed, but maybe it can be modified. It is not perfect, but it is definitely among all the options the most preferred option. Okay. In terms of euro, there are definitely certain benefits that was accrued to different countries that signed up with euro, those 27 countries under EU. Each of these citizens can use their own currency within their eurozone. International currency is accepted. If you look at hard currency within, if you travel outside of India, if you have got US dollars, if you have got euro, I think literally anybody will accept it. Or in the airport, you can exchange to the local currencies. So it's a very strong currency because that is accepted. It brought about price stability, sound public finances, low interest rates, incentives for growth, investment, and employment, because trust is very, very important. And also along with trust, legitimacy is also important. Is it a legitimate currency? Yes. Do the countries under EU and the rest of the world, okay, the non-EU, do they have trust in the viability of EU? The answer again is yes. Shelter from external shocks, okay. I mean, just look at this example 3-4 years ago when we had this COVID, the pandemic, COVID-19. The whole world economic things was in turmoil, was in turbulence, okay. But still, I think overall, in spite of all the setbacks, in spite of obstacles, the EU stood its own particular ground. Okay, elimination of exchange rate fluctuations. Because if you have different currencies, for example, a citizen of Austria going to Germany, okay, so he has to exchange this currency into that one. You lose. You remember, when you buy something, you pay more. Okay, when you encase something, you get less. Okay, so there is a lot of problems that you have to carry. Better decision making due to reduced uncertainties, elimination of transaction cost, price transparency, enhanced competition, more opportunities for consumers, more attractive opportunities for foreign investors, a single financial market, and that is good for the bank, for insurers, investment funds, pension funds, uh, strengthened Europe's role in the world body, in WTO, in World Bank, etc. Important role in investment and reserve currency and international trade. It also, in a holistic way, in a broad way, it brought about common identity, shared values, and the success of European integration. And now, what is the downside? I think if there are some criticisms of Euro, I think it should be some countries were a little bit hesitant because it diminishes or it reduces the national sovereignty, like your power to control the kind of economy you would like to have, the kind of finance you would like to have. So some countries felt, and some critics felt, that there is a loss of sovereignty, economic sovereignty, financial sovereignty. And also, I think other weaknesses was not everything is equal. Not all 27 countries under EU are similar. Apples are different than oranges. They look different, they talk different, they behave different, they taste different. Same thing. You cannot compare, example, the new countries like Poland or Romania or Bulgaria. Okay, then there is other big problem. After the fall of Eastern Europe, which was mostly communist countries during the Cold War, satellite countries of Soviet Union, USSR, some of those countries are now part of this bigger entourage. Okay, now there is a big mismatch. I saw that when I was in Germany before the reunification and also after the reunification. I went to the parts of Germany which used to be East Germany, which was formerly communist country, and West Germany, which was previously a part of West Germany. And you can see the contrast. You can see the difference in that one. So there is a big mismatch or a big disparities between the Eastern Europe and Western Europe, between the newly entrant countries of EU and the old guard, sort of, you can say, under EU. So I think these are some of the criticisms. But the most critics, they think this is a dilution or diminution of the sovereignty kind of things. Okay. And as far as EU and India is concerned, of course, India does invest a lot in EU. Maybe not to the extent that we do with USA or other countries, but definitely a substantial amount of our investment goes into that one. And we do have very friendly, very beneficial relationship with individual countries under EU. And to that extent, I think the Indian diaspora living in different countries in Europe, from Netherlands to Germany to France, everywhere. You just saw a couple of days ago, the President of India, Her Excellency Draupadi Murmu, she visited Portugal, she visited a number of countries, and you saw the people of Indian diaspora welcoming our president, the head of state over there. So that is a sizable there. When I was in Germany, in many different countries, in Netherlands, Austria, Sweden, I have seen a lot of Indian programs. I've attended some of the festivals like Diwali, like Holi, you can see the enthusiasm, you can see the fervor over there. Okay, so basically, I think it is a part of cultural diversity. You can call it splendid diversity. There is also an amount of flexibility over there. Okay. Unit 8, the syllabus is called member states. It has picked up some individual countries like Germany, like France. Let us say Germany. Okay, Germany is, of course, as you know, the most powerful country and the most committed country within, and the strongest country within EU. And look back very quickly at the history of Germany. before 1945 and after 1945. So I would like to give you a little bit, a minute or two about the historical backgrounds of Germany. In 1939, World War II took place. Adolf Hitler was the leader, okay? It attacked Poland. Then, of course, the war spread out, okay? Partly in Europe and partly in the Far East, where Japan was taking care, okay? Then at the end of World War II in 1945, the Berlin Wall was created. Berlin as a city was divided into two parts, East Berlin and West Berlin. West Berlin was a part of West Germany, East Berlin was a part of East Germany. East Germany was a communist country under the Soviet Empire, under the ideological control of then Soviet Union. It was called Democratic Republic of Germany, and West Germany was called the Federal Republic of Germany. So that continued for a long, long time. And at the end of World War II, when NATO was created, of course, Germany was a member, West Germany. Later on, when German unification took place in the 90s, it became one single Germany. So I think since then, I think a lot of things has happened over that particular part. We have seen Soviet invasion in Czechoslovakia, in Poland, and many other places. The Berlin Wall, that was a big bone of contentions over there. Okay, and there are two elements, I think, that was also operated in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. One was, should we cooperate fully or should we cooperate a half-hearted way? Okay, some people also, they promoted the concept of supranationalism, like one single entity, like one single world authorities, like one single Europe kind of things. So I think there is a lot of challenges that Germany faced, but I think I have to give a lot of credit to a chancellor. You know, the head of the government in Germany is called the chancellor, and his name was Helmut Kohl. So in spite of criticisms, in spite of opposition from different political parties in Germany, he stood his ground and he supported the concept of EU and the concept of single currency to the full. His name is Helmut Kohl, Kohl. And also took EU toward the path of globalization, liberalization, etc., etc. In some areas, some countries moved fast, like Germany, etc. In some areas, the other countries, they tried to catch up with the rest. Okay. The German's population is not too high, it's like about 9 crores rupees, the 9 crore populations. Okay. And there are also ultra-left, ultra-right political parties. So they have also a vibrant democracy over there. There is also a debate whether Germany should go nuclear. But as part of World War I and also part of World War II, it was decided that Germany should be rearmed, because when Hitler was completely armed, okay, he created havoc all over Europe, disturbing this rule-based international orders. So Germany chose to be a non-nuclear country. But having said that, there are a lot of American nuclear assets that are stored in different places of Germany. And as you know, under NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, if any country outside of NATO decides or opts to attack any countries of NATO, all the NATO countries will join hands, including US, including Canada, including all the countries within NATO. Okay. So Germany decided not to have nuclear weapons. They have a peaceful nuclear facilities here, but they don't have any weapon-grade things. But comparable to that, when you move to France, for example, which is again another important country with within the European Union, they chose to have only the nuclear weapons, and there is also a movement against nuclear weapons by NGO called Greenpeace movements, but I think France still has got nuclear weapons. So I think if you look at the history of nuclear weapons in the world, originally United States of America, they had got nuclear weapons, right? In 1945. And they used 2 of them toward the final phase of World War II in the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. And that ended literally the end of World War II. And Harry Truman was the president of USA. Then in 1949, 4 years later, Soviet Union, then Soviet Union, USSR, they developed nuclear weapons. Then I think down the road in the 60s, France, France, Great Britain, China, they also developed. So those 5 countries acquired. Then in the year 1974, but more importantly, 1998, India and Pakistan, they also developed nuclear weapons. In between, countries like Israel, countries like North Korea, they've got. So I think altogether we have got about 9 or 10 countries in the world currently, they have got nuclear weapons. But there are also many other countries, they would like to acquire nuclear weapons. For example, maybe Iran, maybe other countries in the world. And currently, after the coming of Donald Trump, he's threatening not to give any additional aid to the traditional allies of USA, like South Korea and Japan. So who knows? In a couple of years' time, even Japan may go nuclear, which will be an irony of sorts. South Korea may go for nuclear weapons. Saudi Arabia may go for nuclear weapons. Iran may go for that. Okay, so I think it will be, instead of nuclear non-proliferation, it will be a tragedy to see. It will be a nuclear proliferation of sorts. Okay, and so I think that's all about this France thing. On Unit 9, we have got the Common Agricultural Policy, which I think is a very important one under EU, called CAP, Common Agricultural Policy. This is one of the most integrated and one of the basic principles under the EU. The key actors were Agricultural Council, Agricultural Commission, and the national administration kind of thing. The benefits were basically fortress Europe, the high food prices, the costly cap that leads to, just give me 1 minute. So basically, I think to increase agricultural productivity, to ensure a fair standard of living, to ensure the availability of food supplies, and to ensure supplies of rich consumers at reasonable prices. I think again it rhymes well with the overall aims, objectives of the European Union. Let me repeat, to increase agricultural productivity across the board, across all 27 constituent countries of EU, to ensure a fair standard of living. So please mark the word fair. Fair is not means equal, but at least a reasonable equality among all those countries. Okay, to stabilize agricultural market, because some prices, some items in some countries were a little bit too high. So trying to put a cap on that, okay, which is on a reasonable basis. To ensure the availability of food supplies. So if a particular country, it's not necessary, every country produces each of the basic staples and items at the same level. But a regulatory mechanism was in place to make sure that the availability of food supplies was given to all the countries, to ensure a supply reach consumers at reasonable prices. The whole idea was to have a market unity of sorts among those countries, okay, so that there can be free movement of agricultural products within the European Union. There is no cross-border barrier to agricultural trade, okay. And that's, I think, one of the things that we see, unfortunately, we don't see, in SAARC. I mean, we talk about South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, but there is a lot of bureaucratic bottlenecks if you're trying to send something or get something from Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or Nepal or Bhutan or Maldives, okay? But I think in European Union, to a large extent, I think they've been able to develop what we call as market unity. They also protect the union's agricultural products, joint financial responsibilities. The key actors, as I said, are Agricultural Council. They take care of the decision making, national administration, etc., etc. Among the benefits of having a common agricultural policy CAP, because the first measure, it is that it fulfilled the self-sufficiency of food grains among all the European Union. Second largest exporter of agricultural products, productivity in agriculture, and increasing in the different sectors. It prevented price fluctuation in agricultural products. It protected rural lifestyles. So I think these are some of the advantages. Remember, in India, we had got this food, green revolution in the late 60s and early 70s, thanks to the Nobel Prize winner, Norman Borlaug. Before that, we had a lot of problems. We could not feed all the people of our country. But thanks to the Green Revolution, in European Union, some of the countries, they are very fertile, they are very rich. So I think they produced significant amounts. So the surplus things could easily go and it could easily spread out. There are also criticisms about the common agricultural policies. And one of them is called the supporters of globalization. They feel that this is too much bureaucratized, and maybe we need to have a more decentralized approach rather than centralized. It should be more bottom up rather than top down. There is another criticism that sometimes, because of the unevenness, sometimes in the borders, maybe some corruptions, etc., there is a high food prices of certain items. Costly cap leads to misallocation of resources, because in some of the items, if they are red, then that also affects the resources. It also causes conflict among member states. I think, again, in spite of the fact that everybody believes in European Union, I have seen personally that there is an inter-ethnic class or intra-ethnic class, or maybe you can say like a class war, kind of rich and poor kind of thing. So it is not homogeneous by any chance. It is very much heterogeneous. Okay. So I think that again goes back, like again, there is this big class and big tough rivalry between the old immigrants and the new immigrants, the old natives versus the new ones, like the kind of things you see in Canada, like the kind mostly you see things in USA. Okay, because I spent a long time in US, and these ethnic rivalries. Okay, and it looks codified, it looks like a homogeneous entity, but in reality, it is mostly like a ghettoization. It is mostly like ethnic solidarity, ethnic enclave, etc. You go to New York City, you go to Los Angeles, you go to Chicago, you see little India, little China, little Italy, little Greece, little Vietnam, little Filipino, little Mexico, Guatemala, okay, El Salvador. So basically different kinds of ethnic enclaves, and they maintain their own cultural distinctiveness, their own cultural uniqueness. So, in a sense, it is okay, but in a sense, it is not okay. Like one of the reasons why Donald Trump got elected this time, because he was against this heterogeneity, okay, this cultural pluralism kind of things, okay. That's why I think he had a social base called MAGA, Make America Great Again, okay. And some people call it MAGA. Is in fact, in different way, it is MAWA, Make America Fight Again. So like 150, 200 years ago, when America was created, okay, and only 13 colonies were there. We're talking about what? 1776, okay? So mostly it was a white thing from the Western Europe, okay? And it was basically conforming to Anglo-Saxon traditions, the Anglo-conformities, okay? But lately, in the 50s, 60s, 70s onwards, people from different nationalities, different immigrant groups, different ethnic groups, they decided to migrate, okay? But that created another set of problems, okay? Okay, so the whites, they felt maybe the majority people, those people who stuck to the traditional Anglo-conformity model, they felt that maybe their position, their power is getting eroded, okay? So some of the people, they felt maybe these new immigrants, okay, who came in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, etc., okay? So they were underdogs in 40 years ago, in 50s and 60s. Now the ball has turned upside down. The top dog has become underdog, underdog has become top dog. So that created a lot of ethnic cleavages. Okay. So instead of a melting pot in which, in a sociological term, in which there is only one single ethnic identity, one single cultural identities, where all different ethnic variations merge, you have got like a more multiplex, a more multi kind of ethnic groups, okay, which is more like a salad bowl. So this is a big contested theoretical things between melting pot versus salad bowl. Melting pot means one single cultural entity, one single socioeconomic identity, one single ethnic solidarities, okay. Salad bowl means there are different pieces, just like the way you go to a restaurant or a hotel, you got tomatoes, you got lettuce, you got carrots, okay, those kind of things, okay. So it looks like a one country. Same thing, I think, in certain ways. You see that I've been to Germany many times, and I've been to France also, and I saw that. I think, although on a surface, there looks to be unanimity, there looks to be cordiality, that looks to be, but internally, you can see people trying to maintain their ethnic distinctiveness by staying in a one particular part of the town, going to one particular set of restaurants, kind of thing. So, that kind of cultural integration is still very much a very sensitive, very touchy, very much on the edge kind of thing. So, and that has created a lot of issues. And also, in certain European countries in the 90s and 2000, etc., this flow of refugees, a lot of the conflict in Bosnia, Herzegovina, in Ukraine, Afghanistan, okay, a lot of the countries, they are a little bit liberal in giving legal status to the refugees, okay? But certain countries, they are very strict because some of an important segment of their population, they were not very much comfortable or amenable to the idea of allowing the refugees to come to their countries, okay? And maybe they will take away the jobs. Maybe this was an unwanted fear or something. Maybe they will swamp with their own cultural variations, etc. So it is very, I have seen, for example, the Turkish immigrants in Sri Lankan immigrants, the Jamaican immigrants in different parts of Europe. And that has created at least some kind of schism, not to the extent that I saw in USA or even in some places in Canada, other places, but definitely that particular tension, the ethnic tension is very much there. Okay, so that is something that that creates some kind of uneasiness within Europe, inequitable systems and obstacles to globe trade, and different countries also. How much we should be generous toward the different provisions of WTO and not. So there, when sometimes we say the devil lies in the details. Okay, broadly everybody says goody things, everything is fine, but when it comes to the details, individual countries, they become very parochial, they become very self-centric, they become very self-focused. Okay, so because it comes to the very basic things, okay, and national interest, okay, survival, again going back to the realist paradigms or realist notions. Okay, at the end of the day, this is something that we stood for. Okay, in Canada, for example, now when we'll discuss tomorrow, okay, it's again the same thing, the clash between anglophone and francophone. It's a contested notion, it is a turf battle. Who is more superior, anglophone or francophone? The English speaking people or the French speaking people, the English culture, British culture, or the French culture. But here it's a mosaic of different cultures, because in the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years, many people have come from different places. The other thing is, remember the remnants of colonization. The Germans, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, they colonized in different parts of the world, including in Africa. So those people, they were given some leeways, some flexibilities, some extra bonus, some extra points in order to apply for immigration to come and stay and work legally in different countries. So legally, it is possible. A person, let us say a person from Morocco, I have met some person from Morocco, they speak very fluent French, okay? But when they have told me that when they apply for jobs, sometimes this racial undercurrent is still there, okay? They are not treated equal. I'm not saying this is a uniform or a very rash policy, but somehow they feel a little bit sensitive about that. That if I had been a real French, blue-blooded French, 100% French, okay, maybe I could have got a job. Maybe I could have a flourishing business. Maybe I could get a easy loan kind of thing. So, this mindset among certain sections of the people, okay, I'm not trying to generalize, but that issue is very, very there, okay. The reform of CAP, okay, I think according to the Director of Agriculture Rural Developments, the key elements of the reformed CAP, okay, which is the Common Agricultural Policy, a single farm payment for EU farmers, a strengthened rural development policy, because a large part of Europe, once I was in a conference in a place called Leiden, Leiden, which is about, I think, 50, 60, 100 miles from Amsterdam. Then they took us to a farm, okay? I've never seen such huge areas of the farmland. And I think they have got to use rural development policies, and the EU is putting in more money into that one. Reduction in direct payment in those areas, improving competitiveness of farming and forestry, improving environment and countryside, improving quality of life and diversification of the rural economy, implementation of bottom-up development strategy of local action groups. I think all of this, let me repeat, improving competitiveness of farming and forestry. I think that's very important. And each country, let us say Netherlands, let us say Austria, let us say Sweden and Denmark. Sweden and Denmark is just like within half an hour you will cross one country to the other country. But they have different completely set up. So I think this competitiveness in farming and forestry that needs to be improved. So whichever areas a particular country is lacking or lagging behind, they can definitely move up. Environment and countryside, the quality of life and diversification of rural economy, depending on the strength that each country have, depending on the assets they have. Implementation of bottom-up development and also local action groups. This local action group, the civil action groups, sometimes the NGOs, they also play very, very important role. Among the future trends we see in terms of, just a minute, the future trends, I think we see some of the external constraints, particularly some of the external variables over which you have no control. Like it's like one step forward and 3 steps back. For example, imponderables like the pandemic, okay? Swine flu, H1N1, Ebola, COVID-19. So who knows? I mean, a couple of years time, there may be another pandemic, there may be another thing. So that is something that affects, of course, everybody in the world, but that also affects EU, and that affects their industrial growth, their economy, and everything. International terrorism. If another major terrorist attacks take place, like 9/11, etc., that also may have effect over there. Lately, we also see different countries within EU, they have very strong domestic opposition to certain policies initiated by EU. But somehow that needs to be more discussion and more consultation among those countries. Protecting the environment, that's very, very important. That's why the issues of global warming, climate change, I think overall, most countries, they decide that. But certain areas, for example, the automobile industry in Germany, okay, they feel that if they have to install all the devices that can reduce the emission or pollution levels, maybe their profit range will be less. So here I think you have to make, I think at the end of the day, short-term pain for a long-term gain. But in a business cycle, they go for a diverse way. Short-term gain, and even if there is a long-term pain, and that may be passed on to the people. Okay, so I think that's also very, very important, protecting the environment. Okay, so I think climate change is a very important issue. EU in matters of principle, they pay very important decisions. Solar energy, that's another area in which all the EU countries, they agree on that one. And the price support system, the minimum price, okay, for the essential commodities, etc. And direct payment to the farmer, like in India now we have got initiated things, UPI systems, okay, etc. Rural development, so basically the rural things that need to be reinforced. I think that's also being given a top priority. Conservation policies, that is also being given, because you need to conserve some of all the elements over there, including water, in public health, plant, etc., etc. And there are a lot of commonalities, and each countries need to come up with their USP, unique selling point, okay? That these are the 5 things that we think is very important, and how EU as a single entity, as a single body can help us, and how we can help EU or maybe some other countries, okay? Because one size too doesn't fit all. So we have to be accommodative. We have to decide what we can do in those areas, okay? Single farm payment, okay? Support reductions, new institutional mechanisms, European Agricultural Guarantee Fund, European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development. So I think the basic point is the different countries in EU, they're trying to come up with a one single codified kind of policies in which there can be across the board developments, okay, knowing fully well that all countries are not equal in terms of when they started 30, 40 years ago or when they joined EU, they started very late. So that's why you say you cannot compare Germany with Portugal, Germany with Slovakia, or Sweden, Denmark with Romania, Bulgaria, because they've been used with a particular system under the communist regime. Some of these communist regimes for a long, long time, they had a different way. I'm not saying good or bad. The value system was different, ideology was different, policies were different. But now when you integrate everything, okay, and then you have to have a different mindset. Okay, and the whole idea is how we all can progress forward. And maybe in the process, if somebody has to sacrifice something, I think each country need to do that. And I think if that can be done, the European Union can be a more vibrant, can be more fasty, and also can be a more useful tool, and can be a good template for other bodies like ASEAN, like Organization for American Unity, OAU, Organization for African Unity, sorry, Organization for American States, and many other things. Okay, BIMSTEC, we have got many SCO, BRICS, etc., etc. Okay, so I think that's very important. And also, I think here, I think let me just I will end. The election of Donald Trump for the second time, it has created a lot of unease, as you must be reading in the newspaper or in the TV. These tariff things, okay, they are very worried about it, and this long 2 years, 3 years, I think this Ukraine crisis that is creating a lot of uneasiness and a lot of fear among the European countries, because if these things last longer, then Europe may be the casualty, and Europe may be having a pay a big price. So if America sticks to these high tariff things, can Europe sustain its own economy? Can Europe stand on its own? Can Europe solo support Ukraine the way Joe Biden was helping from USA? So I think that remains to be seen. And I think the next 3, 4, 5 months are very crucial, how EU can be or could be a potential substitute or alternative if American financial aid, military aid to Ukraine, or its relations with Russia. Because, in the world, we are not talking about self-dependency. It is a world of interdependency, particularly in a globalized world. Okay, so Europe cannot be seen in isolation. Europe has to be seen in the context of the global political economy. Okay, so you cannot divorce Europe and put it in one particular corner. Okay, so whatever USA does, in spite of whoever is the president there, okay, because USA is still a leading country in the world. It has got a significant amount of leverage in all aspects. Okay, military industrial complex and many things. Okay, if Trump decides not to give a single pie to NATO, doesn't cooperate with EU on anything, okay, and he has already decided to withdraw from the Paris climate change negotiations, from World Health Organizations, many other things, okay, and he has not even completed 100 days. It is only what, 2 months or 2.5 months, okay. So it depends. I mean, how America is going to do, and how Europe is going to stay cohesive or stay as united bodies. Okay? So I think that's all I have to say today. Any quick questions or comments? I can take one or two maybe. Gurpreet, am I clear today?
Yes, sir.
So, yes.
Sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I have two doubts, sir.
Yes.
Whether common agriculture policy
Yes.
is one of the programs of single European market.
Yes. That is what the emphasis for, that is what they aim for, and that's their goal, that's their objective, and that they are leading towards. So they have got all the pieces, they have got all the ingredients. So I'm not saying everything is hunky-dory, everything is perfect, okay? But the aim is there, the intention is there, and I think to a large extent they're going in the right direction. But how things will step out 5 years from now, 10 years from now, unless some countries, they become very selfish, self-centered, narrowly minded, that's a different story. But I think overall, the intention is there to make it a win-win situation among all those constituent countries.
Sir, my second question is relating to the same CAP. Following the Second World War, there was a lot of food shortage in the 6-member countries.
Yes.
Sir, and it is mentioned in the book that around 25% of the population was employed in agriculture sector. So my question is whether the European countries were also, their main source of work was from agriculture, like India.
I'm sorry, what is the last point that you made?
Whether the European countries' main source of work was agriculture, like India, because 25% of the population of the 6 countries were employed in agriculture sector, sir. It is mentioned in the book.
Yes,
so
yes. Yeah, you are right. I think, but the thing is, I think in contemporary times, okay, I mean, you cannot put all eggs in one basket, okay? Because in a different way, Sanjeev, let me tell you, like one of the pitfalls or one of the weaknesses or shortcomings of India's foreign policy was we put during the 50s, 60s, 70s, in the 80s, till the end of the Cold War, put all eggs in one basket, namely the Soviet Union basket, okay? I'm not saying it's a wrong strategy, but this was not, you cannot have a policy on a ad hoc basis, on a band-aid policies, okay? You need to have a long leg. You can have a long durée views, okay? So yes, you are right in a way, 25% are agriculture and India, okay? But you need to look at the big picture. You need to look beyond that. That's why each country today, if you look at it, they have a 3-pronged approach, a short term, an intermediate term, and a long term. Short term means 0 to 5 years, 6 years, okay? What we can do about it? What is the best way to deal with it, to manage it, to tackle it, okay? Then 5 to 10 years or 15 years, that is something an intermediate term. Then 15 years and beyond, a long-term objective. Some of the things can be realized, some of the things may not be realized. But you need to have a game plan, okay? Unless, like there is a saying, if you cannot plan, if you plan to fail, you fail to plan, okay? So you need to have, agriculture is the base, okay? And again, when you say 25%, it depends. I think in some place it may be 40%, in some place it may be 10%. So it depends. I mean, who can, the whole idea is to work in a spirit of reciprocity, in a spirit of give and take kind of thing. So if I have got little bit more on a surplus side, okay, maybe I can give little bit more. So, you have to be giving. You have to be very reciprocative. You also have to be little bit maybe generous, okay? So I think, again, the idea, the intention should be there, okay? That yes, agricultural is an important sector, it's a core sector which needs to be developed, and whichever way I can do, country A, country B, country C, and all different countries, they've got own ideas, okay? But everybody can chip in, okay? And if, like, you are putting $10, I'm putting $1, I'm putting $2, okay? That helps, okay? So I think that's the idea.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, so thank you very much, okay? Enjoy the evening and enjoy an early dinner, okay? So thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock for my class on Canada, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, sir.